This just in, we got new footage of Donald Trump arriving to tonight. Say the law and the establishment is definitely not on the side of the former president of the United States that just a few days ago, 59 days to be exact, had a major attempt on his life that today his wife, Melania Trump, has some very serious questions about in a major bombshell statement that, of course, is being shared around wildly just at the perfect opportune time right before the first ever real presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. These comments, absolutely big, absolutely important, and the corporate media is losing their ish, going crazy with a lot of salacious headlines against her, calling her a conspiracy theory, calling her someone who, of course, is doing something wrong when in reality she's not doing anything wrong at all. She is asking some real legitimate questions about a major event that I think it's fair to say the Trump family is still kind of processing, still kind of dealing with. As in previous videos, Donald Trump has even made statements saying that he doesn't even want to think about that particular day, as there has been largely a major shift within Donald Trump that previously was commending the people who were, quote, protecting him, to now also raising some kind of legitimate questions about what happened here, hinting at the larger possibility that there could be some larger players at hand here. As, of course, this clip released by Melania, promoting MelaniaTrump.com, a website where you could pre-order her book, releasing an official statement on her social media accounts saying this:
"The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth."
As yeah, I would absolutely agree with that larger sentiment. As of course, it's been 59 days. We still don't have a motive. We still don't have an official explanation. We still don't know how many shots were fired, by whom, who was actually doing the shooting, who actually failed here, and the individuals who did fail here when it came to, of course, the overwhelming, huge amount of security protocols that weren't followed here. Who are these individuals, and will they actually be held responsible for their, quote, alleged failures? Or was there something bigger at foot here? As, of course, us still not getting a lot of these answers. The FBI and other intel agencies dragging their feet in the investigations, redacting information, not providing documents to investigators is raising a lot of red flags and alarms to people who have legitimate, serious concerns that are Americans who care about this country. Now, if you're a Democrat, you should care about this just as much as the Republican, as, of course, the larger implications here, the JFK-like implications here, are very vast, and they will be affecting a majority of politicians that I think this larger attempt on the life of Donald Trump was a larger message to, saying, you better stay in line, or else a superseding, overwhelming, huge bureaucratic force within government will, quote, take you out if you don't play ball. Now, asking questions about what's happening here, is it raising conspiracy theories? It's raising legitimate questions that the government still hasn't answered. And the only reason people have theories now is because we have no answers from the federal government. So, of course, these articles by the Huffington Post saying that she's hinting at conspiracy theories. Raw story. Melania Trump suggests conspiracy theory. The Guardian. Melania Trump boosts conspiracy theory. And again, having questions that the government is refusing to answer is not a conspiracy theory. It's trying to hold your government accountable for the larger kind of actions that they fail to be accountable for. It's called basic process of accountability. Something that a lot of people, especially in the corporate media, aren't really attuned to, unless, of course, it plays favorably to the politicians and the special interest group that they work for. And then, of course, then they actually remember this, but they conveniently forget about it when it comes to inconvenient facts and information that Melania Trump, of course, kind of brought up here, which I think is done at a very kind of opportune time. Now, personally, I don't know how I feel about this being done with a a book promotion. I think the fact that this has also been released just hours before the first presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is something also that could have been done, that could have been politically motivated here. A lot of other people are responding here saying, but what about his ear? It looks perfectly normal. As a New York Magazine reporter just came out and says that she inspected his ear and she calls it, quote, a normal and incredibly and fine ear. Now, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this has to do with anything. But why is this the conversation from New York Magazine? Why is this the conversation on the Daily Mail here? What is the significance here of people bringing all of this up? As of course, there's theories galore both ways here. Some people saying Donald Trump somehow faked this, which, again, I just don't buy personally myself, especially with the huge amounts of legal lawfare and legitimate enemies that he has made within the corporate media and intel community that, of course, were looking for 7 ways to Sunday in order to get back at him for the larger actions that he committed when he was president of the United States. So, again, every little thing about this man has been scrutinized, has been investigated. Every little embarrassing detail, any comment that was caught on the microphone was utilized, was released to the general public, and after many allegations, after a lot of kind of embarrassing stories, after a lot of failed hit piece after hit piece, you're telling me that he would risk it all and stand on stage where people were literally getting bullets flying within just a tiny trajectory of stage. You're telling me he would literally risk the lives, one of which was lost behind him, all for a PR stunt here? A stunt that has dramatically changed him and has made him more anti-establishment afterwards. You're telling me all of this is organized. You're telling me all of this is plotted here. Again, personally, I just don't buy it. That's just my perspective. That's just my kind of response to all of this, even though there's an overwhelming amount of people that like to kind of obsess about this ear and somehow allude that all of this was kind of orchestrated. Now, the government does orchestrate a lot of particular things. I just personally do not believe that this was orchestrated by itself. Now, let's examine Melania's comments here. As, of course, she said, there's more to the story. We need to uncover the truth. And yeah, I agree with that. Now, what is there more to this particular story? As, of course, we still don't know the truth. We still don't know exactly what happened here. Where's the information? Where are the documents? Where are the messages of this lunatic that tried to take Donald Trump's life? Why are the federal intelligence agencies having a difficult time accessing it when in reality we know that they can access anything, and they have accessed everything previously beforehand when it came to big national security stories? But you're telling me that now they're stumped? Now something happened that they're having a difficult time dealing with? Now, out of all the other times, you're telling me this is the instant where the government just can't crack it. The government can't figure it out. And I'm sorry, but I don't buy that particular story at all. Now, will her book kind of point to larger speculations or larger information that she knows that the general public doesn't know yet? Well, I don't know. But again, very interesting kind of book promotion here. This, as the list of questions just keeps growing and growing every single day. As it's fair to say, there's more questions than there are answers about exactly what happened here throughout this entire situation. As, of course, why was there such a massive security failure? Why did security fail to, of course, identify this guy when they previously identified him beforehand? How was he on the building where police officers and Secret Service were literally mobilizing on? Who was helping him? Who was he in contact with? How was he able to get remote detonators without leaving some kind of online digital footprint that the federal authorities would, of course, be paying close attention to? Why was the building that he was on top of, that all the Secret Service and police officers were in, not secured? How was he able to, of course, train at a rifle facility where the DHS and other federal agencies were also training for over a year? As, of course, the latest bombshell that we're learning about, that it was actually local law enforcement that stopped him, and then only then, after he was allegedly incapacitated, according to a latest report from a Congress member, was then the time that Secret Service actually decided to, of course, take his life. Why was his body cremated? Where was the extensive autopsy? Where was the drug report? Where was any kind of larger investigation? As it looks more and more that there was a big cover-up here that unfolded. As U.S. Senator Ron Johnson also is coming out and saying the U.S. government could have played a role here. And absolutely, as of course, who else has the power to cover up the actions of this lone lunatic? Who else has the power to obfuscate the messaging and the larger kind of communications that happened with this crazed individual? Who else has the ability to, of course, focus and prey on a loner who doesn't have a lot of friends, who doesn't have a big family, who is the perfect kind of MK Ultra candidate? Who else has the ability and has the track record of taking mentally disabled people and then forcing them to do horrible, unspeakable things? Who else has that track record? Who else? I'll wait. Oh, yeah. It's, of course, the intel agencies that also pull the strings of the corporate media that now is lambasting and attacking anyone who's daring to, of course, raise some serious questions here. And all the members of Congress and all the members of the Senate, this is the story that you need to hyper-focus about, because you could be the next victim of a larger possible government attack against you that would be implemented if, of course, you do not play any kind of ball here. We saw what happened to John F. Kennedy. We saw what happened to Robert F. Kennedy. We saw what happened to MLK, Malcolm X. We saw what happened in many third world, Latin American, and developing countries all over the world that didn't play ball with the IMF and the World Bank. We saw what happened to a lot of people that, of course, didn't do what they were told to do. And I think it's fair to say Donald Trump hasn't done a lot of what he was told to do. Now, again, the headline here by the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel saying that he speculates without evidence. Again, there's an overwhelming amount of coincidences here. There's an overwhelming amount of distractions here and cover-up actions by the federal government where we could already kind of attest that, something's up here. And it absolutely doesn't add up, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And even though we don't have the smoking gun evidence, you don't need it. You just have to ask pointed questions that I think are more important to ask more than ever. And again, as the conversation gets blurred with the corporate media and other people trying to obfuscate the true severity of everything that we've been kind of going through here, this is a major issue that if I'm Donald Trump, I want to bring up, I want to talk about specifically on the debate stage later on tonight, as of course, this is something that a lot of people are seemingly trying to forget about. It's fair to say that social media that has been caught obfuscating this event, hiding it, and censoring it from the general public should be kind of reminded, like, hey, there's a lot of things at stake here. Someone literally tried to take the life of the former president of the United States. It deserves to be reminded to a lot of the American people that are dealing with shorter and shorter attention spans here. As, of course, this is a major galvanizing political force for Donald Trump that overwhelmingly works in his favor. And if you're a part of the Donald Trump kind of camp and campaign, you want to highlight that. You want to play up on this since, of course, Donald Trump was not just extremely lucky that all of this kind of happened in the way that it did, but it also has been a driving force for the overwhelming amount of support for him. Another thing that, of course, could be brought up are the Venezuelan gangs that are taking over hotels, apartment buildings, as, of course, migrant crime is something probably that ABC News will not want to talk about as well. Kamala Harris has a very big leftist, commie-like record that also deserves to be talked about here. As the fate of the two candidates trying to be leader of the United States are in the hands of ABC News today, that overwhelmingly is clearly extremely biased against Donald Trump and in favor of Kamala Harris, that they've been running puff pieces on, while, of course, trying to figuratively crucify Donald Trump with their reporting on him that I would say is extremely hyperbolic, sensationalistic, and absolutely unfair in more ways than one. As a lot of people believe that this political season, it's a race between freedom versus power. In my opinion, it's the establishment versus the anti-establishment, as there are a lot of other things at stake here, especially when it comes to free speech, especially when it comes to our ability to be able to talk and communicate with each other. As Elon Musk had this to say about this particular election season, which I think is very kind of poignant to the larger discourse and what is at stake here.
If Trump wins, and obviously I suspect there are people with mixed feelings about whether that should happen, but we do have an opportunity to do kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deregulation and reduction in the size of government. Because the other thing, besides the regulations, America is also going bankrupt extremely quickly. And everyone seems to be sort of whistling past the graveyard on this one. But
they're all grabbing the silverware. Everyone's stuffing their pockets in the silverware before the Titanic sinks. It's like,
well, you know, the Defense Department budget is a very big budget. Okay, it's $1 trillion a year. DoD Intel, it's $1 trillion. And interest payments on the national debt just exceeded the Defense Department budget. They're over $1 trillion a year, just in interest, and rising. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt, which our kids and grandkids are going to have to pay somehow. Every 3 months, and then soon it's going to be every 2 months, and then every month, and then the only thing we'll be able to pay is interest. And if this is, it's just it's just like a person at scale that has racked up too much credit card debt, this does not have a good ending. And so we have to reduce the spending.
let me ask.
This says, I think it's fair to say that the future of America, Western civilization, is now in the hands of middle-aged single white women in swing states like Pennsylvania and Michigan. So yeah, there's that. What impact will today's larger debate play on all of this? Well, time will tell, as of course we return in a few hours to provide you live coverage of this here on youtube.com/We Are Change. We're going to be live on the bestpoliticalshow.com with Roger Stone, Alex Jones, and we are going to be watching the debate in real time and responding to it as it's going on with our points of view and perspective, breaking down every single moment to moment live on air. You could also participate in the conversation, and you could be a part of it too, just by simply signing up to lookunfiltered.com. We give our viewers the ability to call into the show and ask us whatever they want. You get to show us whatever you want. You get to be a part of the show. You get to speak to hundreds of thousands of people. The podcast has been doing incredibly well. We've been reaching so many different people because we live stream on so many different platforms. Other platforms, huge numbers. This platform, very small numbers, surprisingly. I wonder why. Anyway, you could be a part of that live show. You could be speaking to everyone just by signing up to lookunfiltered.com. You get many perks by signing up, too many to mention. One of them is a Telegram channel that I will be going to that you get to call in and speak to everyone during that as well. We have also started to give out free supplements from wearechange.shop for every single caller. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you call in now and you're a first-time caller or you haven't really called in beforehand before this type of giveaway, we will give you one free supplement from wearechange.shop, as last night's caller will be getting the magnesium glycinate, and it's a great supplement that also helps finance and support this independent media organization. Get active, get engaged, get involved, start looking at your health from a perspective that is very important for you to look at in a critical fashion. Start your independent health journey all by going to wearechange.shop right now. And I will see you there afterwards, as well as lookunfiltered.com. Links down in the description. Sign up right now. We need your help more than ever, since, of course, there are a lot of very underhanded attacks against independent media. Truly, we can't thank you enough, but we need your support now more than ever. So if you haven't signed up to lookunfiltered.com, you haven't got something on wearechange.shop, this is the time to do it. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.